Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right, a capsule, a small little segment, excuse me, of my Office Hours live stream. I'm not going to cut that because I'm getting over the spicy flu, the Rona, right now. It wasn't that bad, but my voice is kind of shot, so excuse me. This is a live stream, taken from my Office Hours live stream. It's a little segment of it that kind of pulls out for you who can't watch 4 hours of content, but come join us live on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we do this on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and youtube.com/TheastroPublive. Love to have you come by and join the conversation with chat and all these wonderful folks. So, talking about 318. There's been a lot of topic about what's going on, a lot of pitchforks being raised, torches being lit, the cycle that we're currently in. The old cycle is the patch has been out for a while. People gotten dried up and bored of the content, so they're now starting into the anger cycle until 318 drops. So let's go into what is 318. What's going on with 318? What the heck is going on? Where are these features? They haven't talked about cargo refactor. There's what's going on. I'm mad and I demand answers because CIG is not being open enough for me. All right, if you're in that crew, come with me and we'll talk a little bit about what CIG is doing, and I agree with you a little bit about why CIG is screwing up a little bit. So let's first look at the release view. So let's see what's actually in 318. Now, it's important to note, since the change in February, anything that's on the release view is got a high probability of making it. My guess is about 80% probability. That doesn't mean things won't slip off the release view, but they're trying to put on things only that they have almost guaranteed success of putting on. Last year, they think only one thing slipped from the release view when it was within one cycle, with one patch. So anything that's in 318 should be there. Big emphasis on should, because things can always happen and change. But these are things that CIG feels that is like 80% for sure going to make it for 318. So let's look at the first part, locations. We've got a Daymar crash site. We've got New Rivers in Stanton, which is going to Microtech and Hurston. Then we also have the Sand Cave archetypes, which is going to be throughout Stanton, and also, I believe the big one is Daymar. The big one they're putting on Daymar. And the Grey Cat PTV racetrack that was added this latest update. So we got that, which is going to be on Crusader in the same location as the most recent Invictus launch week, designed for the Grey Cat PTV. So get that going. So those are the locations. Locations aren't as important because I know you who are watching this goes, where's the gameplay? I don't care about fancy location, where's the gameplay? This next section, let's talk about the gameplay. Cargo system refactor. Refactor of the ship's cargo, which will allow both found and purchased cargo to be picked up and moved around and placed onto cargo grid of a ship. So, this is a big one. What does this mean? Well, let's go back to the office real quickly. This means nothing. I'm going to pour some water on y'all to cool off and hit you with a dose of reality. This means nothing in terms of gameplay. It means a lot for like pirates and such, but the actual change is likely not going to be much. It means most likely timers, because we don't yet have cargo elevators. Those are not going to come in 318. They're not probably coming in 319. They're probably at the earliest coming in the quarter one, which could be 4.0, but probably not. So that's a far way away. And we need cargo elevators to do a lot more of the cargo loop of like loading your own cargo, unloading your own cargo, those sorts of things. So this is effectively just being able to pick up the cargo you purchase rather than it being an invisible object, or sometimes visible, but you can go through it. For all of the cargo stuff. That's the cold dose of reality for that. They said that they're going to talk about it with ISC soon. They haven't talked about it at all, which does send some bad messages because it means that they are avoiding talking about it. The only thing they talked about it was earlier, and it was very work in progress sketches of the HUD. But that doesn't mean anything. It's the way that video game development works is off. It's not a predictable pattern. Every company is going to work differently, and they're all going to have different priorities and the way they work. Some companies can change HUDs every week. You can find companies, games in the past, like Battlefield, I've been following for a while. Watch old Battlefield like 3 and Battlefield 4 videos from their E3 coverage, and then compare their HUDs on those E3 coverages, which is often 6 months before release, or even like a beta, old Battlefield betas, and then compare those HUDs to the release when they're like 3 to 4 months away. HUDs change all the time. Things get dropped last minute. It happens a lot. So like HUDs and those sorts of things aren't as complicated if you have the back-end structure to support them. And CIG does have that now. So it's hard to tell where it is in development. But I think the cargo refactor system is a milestone, not really going to be much of a gameplay changer. Let's look at the other ones. Sandbox prison activity. Expansion to prison gameplay with new suite of missions and sandbox activities to give inmates more opportunities to earn merits or to aid their escape from prison. This is what they talked about last week. It's just an expansion of the gameplay possibilities for prisons. Good, but still probably lacking. I don't think people who regularly go to prison will necessarily want to do these missions, because I don't think CIG is going to make them very worthwhile. It's not how CIG develops or how they balance, sadly. So I think this is more of just giving you more options for those of you who are constantly stuck in prison. So it's not really gameplay as much as just expanding what we have now, and it's only for a very small niche audience that I don't think much exists in Star Citizen right now, because it's not connected to the reputation gameplay or anything else like that. This is just more stuff to do in prison. Then we have Security Post Korea activation. Security Post Korea will be taking a more central role in Stanton security. Crusader Security have moved in a full-time staff and have begun storing confiscated contraband aboard. The station will be off limits to all civilians unless given prior authorization. We got this information pretty recently, actually, I think last week. There's going to be a mini jump town in SPK. It is a player-activated event where you can pull out contraband, like drugs, from a device, but only after you have landed, killed everyone on board the station, killed a specific like lieutenant, the person in charge of the security post, get their keypad, unlock the contraband device, and then it'll start spitting out contraband for you to use. And in the meantime, that will activate a mission for anybody who is in the area to come to SPK to fight those people. So it's going to create a PvP event going on in SPK, probably 24/7, because people will be doing this all the time. They also have made it so that SPK is the only place where you can hack your crime stat. So if you get a crime stat for parking improperly, you're going to have to go up against Avenger 1 to get their crime stat removed, or you're just going to go to jail. Again, it's gameplay. It's definitely gameplay for PvP players. I don't think it's going to be a great addition for everybody, but it's probably the first real instance of sitting here going, this is gameplay that's going to matter in the game. But it's a slight revision, a kind of an evolution of what we've already had. So it's nothing like span-tanking new. It'll be fun, I'm sure, but again, keeping your expectations. New missions, Orison. Bounty, Assassinate, Clear All, and other missions to take place on the platforms of Siege of Orison, which in the future will be distributed across the planet of Crusader to create further content. This is where they're going to take Siege of Orison, and they're going to split it up into a bunch of different locations, and so you're going to have mini Sieges of Orison, where you're just going to go kill the lieutenant or go pick up an object at that location in Orison. So it's going to be just a slight variation. This is something people ask for. It's a nice little addition, good little NPC stuff. So, but again, it's an evolution of what we've already had. New interdiction scenarios, adding new variations and difficulty levels of interdicting scenarios that players will come across while quantum traveling. This has directly to do with PES. This is, we'll talk about this in a moment, but this is a direct result of being able to separate your persistence, the memory of any server, and the actual gameplay aspect of the server, which is, again, an evolution of what we have, but more using the new technology, which is pretty cool. Then the environmental space missions. Implementation of new missions and scenarios that players will encounter as they wander around the space. The missions that appear will be based on the probability volumes that the player are currently in. This is probability volumes and quanta. These are new quanta missions which are being added to the verse. They currently exist in terms of combat missions. It looks like we're going to have more variations of that, a slow evolution of that system. Again, similar to what we have right now, but a little bit bigger. And lastly, salvage hull stripping. This is the big mamma jamma, the thing that they've been talking about for a while, but hold. Chill those hype thrusters. This is not salvage. This is step 1 of 3 for salvage. Hull stripping is simply being able to take the exterior plating of a ship and rip it out. It turns it into goo, and that goo can then be used to repair ships that have damages on their hulls. So it is also sneakily the first version of repair. We'll see if it managed to reverse the devices to determine the repair ships, but it's more like a minor repair, not a full repair. You won't get a perfect hull, you'll get like a nasty scar across your ship. But it adds the first step towards that, like kind of similar to the cargo gameplay. It's the first step in the system. So that's the big gameplay stuff that's being added. Some large gameplay additions, but a lot of evolutions of gameplay we currently have. So it's going to be probably the biggest patch we'll have all year, but it's important to keep those in mind. All right, Drake Vulture. Gonna add it in there. We also know that the Drake Vulture and the Retaliator, no, the Reclaimer are going to be able to use their ship devices to hull strip, but not to break the hulls, not the claw to crack the ships in half, that kind of stuff. That's not going to happen yet, or to extract the modules. Then there's the multi-tool salvage attachment, plus a multi-tool backpack, which they kind of showed off. And lastly, core tech, this is the big one, persistent entity streaming. Implementation of persistent entity streaming, core technology into Star Citizen, making use of services such as entity graph and replication layer. This will allow every dynamic object in the game to fully persist across all servers, irrelevant of whether it was owned or held by a player. I'm going to try to break this down to explain to you as best as I can why this is important to understand, especially with the most recent Inside Star Citizen, which talks about this. I suggest go watch it. It'll be linked right up there. Go click that video. Go watch it if you're watching this after the fact. We just watched it live here on Twitch and YouTube, so you can watch. If you're watching this on the large playback, it's already there. But if you're on the capsule stuff, go there, watch that first. This is important because this is the first pillar. Everything else I just said before is nice. This is necessary. This is required for the game to function. Without PES, Star Citizen as they have planned cannot function. That doesn't mean that if it doesn't work, they can't find other reasons. The original version of this was iCache. That didn't work, so they had to go to a brand new system. But they didn't explain it like that because they knew that was going to freak people out. And that's the problem. This is where we're getting into kind of CIG's communication problems, which has a lot to do with them being developers and not PR folk. But this means that anytime a server is loaded up with stuff, entities, anything, it will no longer be stored on the dedicated game server, DGS. Right now, the DGS is all you have. You go on Star Citizen, you play your game, you wake up, you go call your ship, you fly away, you drop your ship off, your friend comes, picks you up in a bigger ship, and you leave your 100i on the surface of Daymar. That ship will remain there in the DGS's memory forever until that server crashes and then wipes everything off of it. That's one of the reasons why AI get derped, why servers start to slow down and cause weird bugs and other glitches, is because the memory has to build up because the servers have to save all of the stuff that's happening inside them on their local memory. Now, with 3.18, they're going to disconnect those two. So unless the player is actively involved in doing something, the DGS doesn't care. Everything else is handled by the entity streaming and replication layer. That's it. They deal with everything. This, in theory, should improve the performance of the game. Because right now, let's just say Star Citizen's dealing with 2 million entities per DGS. If players are dispersed in a random area, every single one of those entities has to be activated or stored in that local DGS. But with the activation of this, if players are not in that area, that DGS doesn't care. It's not in its local memory. It's pushed off to this other service. So, yeah, it's completely separate, which means the DGS can focus on only the entities that the players can interact with, which should reduce that number from 2 million to, let's just say, 180,000 or even 1 million entities. That means the server load is cut by half, which should allow for more NPCs, more players, faster and less derpier NPCs, and better performance in small areas, server-side performance. This may not have anything to do with your client side. If your client can't run Star Citizen, this won't fix that. But it should improve the gameplay experience. And without this, you can't have server meshing. And server meshing, you take this concept and you can extrapolate it onto server after server after server, which is weaved together, streaming in and out. That's why you can have 3 mega shards that control North America, Australia, or the Oceania, and Europe, because those shards are only dealing with like smaller DGS servers inside of them and the persistent entity streaming in the back. That's how you make that work. But without PES, none of this is possible. So this is the first step, and that's why it's taking so long. All right, we've kind of broken down all this stuff. What does this mean overall? Well, it means that CIG is not releasing 3.18 anytime soon. And they don't want to tell you that they're not releasing 3.18 anytime soon because they're afraid you are going to have a negative reaction. Because CIG is allergic to bad news. To be fair, most of us are. But they won't come out and tell you that 3.18 is probably not coming out in September. That we might see ETF come out in October around CitizenCon. I can almost guarantee you that they are planning on releasing some form of 3.18 at CitizenCon. That is not an option. There is no negotiation on that part. CIG is going to release either Evocati or Wave 1 PTU at CitizenCon. Whether it's ready or not, it's coming. And whether or not it's ready for IAE, it's coming out in IAE. I would be very surprised if CIG had the stomach to hold back a release of 3.18 before IAE. That's their biggest marketing of the year, and they want to release the 3.19 for some reason. So those are the dates that I would look at, because those are the hard-coded dates that CIG will have to do something about. And I say it'll probably be around it within that week. Very rarely will CIG miss around those dates. They try to hit those dates pretty closely and tend to do that. So overall, 3.18 is an important patch. We all knew this. If you're new to the community, welcome. This is an important patch. It's a critical patch. It has gameplay. It has some evolutions of gameplay, some new gameplay, but it's not the final game. At the same time, don't expect it anytime soon. If you're saying, oh, I want to take some time off for the Wave 1, don't. And if you're getting frustrated and burned out on this right now, the reason why 3.17.2 is still in PTU, and yes, it still has PTU, is because CIG is trying to stabilize the patch as much as humanly possible so that they're prepared for 3.18, which could last the entire year. I sincerely doubt we will see a 3.18 still in PTU by the end of the year. I don't doubt that we will have a 3.18 PTU before the end of the year after a 3.18 has already been released. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Am I crazy? Am I too optimistic? Am I too pessimistic? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and I also want to hear your thoughts here live on Twitch and on YouTube. Join us live Thursdays, and if you enjoyed this, hit that like button. Excuse me, again, getting over this. Hit that like button, because if you hit that like button, it will promote the video, and that video will then be sent to more people. Because if you are like so many of my other viewers who say, YouTube's never told me anytime your videos come out, well, that's because you haven't hit that subscribe button, or you haven't hit that bell icon, and you have to hit that like icon. Every time you see the video, you have to hit that like button. Then YouTube goes, you like it, you've watched it, you want to see this more people like you. Let's find more people like you and promote this video. That will help spread the word, get the word out there, and get this video out to more eyes and to your eyes, because YouTube will then say, hey, you like this video, we're going to watch this. So thank you again for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.